Good evening, everybody! Welcome to round 4 of the Lucas Vidra Trophy here at International Sim Racing Organization, tonight coming to you from Oulton Park. Cars are in the qualifying session right now. This is going to be a very interesting event tonight because we have 2 heats combining to form an aggregate final result. And I'm joined in the booth by Alberto Ibañez. Alberto, good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to be here for this next round of the Lucas Vidra Trophy.
Yeah, we still have 17 minutes to go in qualifying here, so we'll get to see some of the action going on here. Currently, Yuha Boss is in front. Well, that didn't last long. David Jakes. Oh, and here comes Dave Miller out of the garage in the Pratt & Whitney powered Lotus, which uses 2 sets of front tires in order to cure, I'm guessing, oversteer. As he comes out of the... Oh, goodness, we got somebody doing a loop back there. But this will be an interesting opportunity to see this turbine in action. Has Dave given you any feedback on driving this car, Alberto?
Well, he said it wasn't as bad as one could expect it to be, because the main thing about this car is that when you're braking, you have brakes, but you don't have any gears. So you cannot use the engine to help you in braking or to stabilize the car. This is a very weird car. It's 4-wheel drive, and it has that helicopter turbine. You see, it's the only car in the field that's very distinctive with the 4 tires of the same size.
Yeah.
But he said it was actually better than expected. This was a car that was actually conceived probably more thinking of tracks like Monza, where you could use all the power from that turbine in the open turns and open stretches of that circuit. But it's going rather well here at Oulton Park, despite this being a small and twisty circuit.
Yeah, he's putting up decent times. I'm really curious to see how he does. Actually, he's going to come around to complete a lap here in a second, and we can go on board with him. Let's see. Yeah, here we are looking from his cockpit. Makes a right-hand turn, comes onto the main straight. You see how there's a lot of elevation change here at Oulton Park. Crosses the start-finish line. First turn is a right-hander, which is fairly quick, but tight. And there's plenty of curbing on the left-hand side there in case you run wide. Now we head downhill into a very tricky left-hander, which changes elevation in the middle of it. And now you accelerate down a short straight here, and then there's a very quick left-hander leading to the hairpin. We're using the full course here at Oulton Park, and then this is a fairly tight hairpin here, but it's helped a little bit by some banking. It's not all that dissimilar from Tarzan Corner at Zandvoort. It has a little bit of banking so you can carry some speed through. And now this is the fastest part of the course, where the turbine really can stretch its legs. Up this hill, and you can see how it's a narrow track and there's lots of undulation up and down, left and right. So I think you and I were talking about this offline. It's really hard to control these cars at speed, and the track does not help you with all this elevation change.
No, this was a Formula 1 track in 71, but just barely. You know, it's, as you said already, it's a very narrow track. Many undulation changes that hasn't changed over the years, because this is still the Automobilista version. It reflects that classic layout because it's unchanged, but I mean, nothing much is very different. It always has been like that, bumpy with undulation, elevation changes, and I would say it's a very nice track for club racing. It's a very nice track for small feeder series, because you said it has very quick turns. They're actually not quick in absolute terms, but they feel very quick, and that's because of the specific nature of this track. These elevation changes, like for example what we are now about to come, they hide the scenery from you, and you are always constantly going very quick into things that you don't even see at all, except in the rear part of the circuit. So yeah, it feels actually way quicker than it is, because if you look at the speedo, you're actually doing those very quick turns are actually like 100 mph ones. Here in this back of the circuit is where it gets really quick, but really quick in here is something like 150, 160 mph, and not a lot more. Then you're already braking, for the hairpin, and now starting to enter in this back section that leads you to the final combo of turns that will be making the last part of it. So it's only relatively quick, but it's for sure very, very tiresome to drive because you have to be on top of the car all the time here. These are not easy cars to drive here.
I think in that way it'll lend the format well to this type of race because for this event tonight, it's going to be divided into two 20-lap heats. And then points will be awarded for the Lucas Vidra Trophy on aggregate of both results. I've been racking my brain to see what the best way to report on the aggregate would be. We can try to do that in the second race, but quite honestly, it's going to be pretty difficult to do that and comment on the action. Probably the better thing to do will be to just call each race individually and then say,
Yes.
if you want to know who wins the overall thing, go to the forum.
Yes, I don't think they had in
probably the best thing
71
to do.
the means to compute that in real time either. So
Oh, God.
we'll go with hysteric flavor also on that one.
I suppose that's true. Let's take a look briefly at the Lucas Vidra points situation, since this has bearing on that. Tiago Canola currently leads with 30 points. Cesarius Lipinski is in second with 26. David Jakes is third with 25. Juha Boss fourth with 20. And Richard Coxon, who I'm happy to say has a working computer finally,
He has.
has 18 points. And to remind all of you how the points spread goes in this series, because we don't have these rounds very often, 15 points goes to the winner, 12 for second place, 10 for third, 9 for fourth, 8 for fifth, and then it drops sharply for the 6 through 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So there's a premium placed on finishing in the top 5.
Yes.
So that's where we're at right now with the game. Looking at the times right now in qualifying, David Jakes is currently on top. See if we can find him on the... Yeah, here he is. He is driving the Mike Beutler March 711, the T-Tray wing car. This is a car that actually isn't too bad to drive. The aerodynamic benefit of the T-Tray wing in the front is up for debate, I'm sure, but you can see David hanging the car out there. There are several of these March 711s in this series.
Yes, we're still in an era of Formula One where there were customer cars. And March, which is the composite brand created by several founders, March Engineering actually was selling lots of these cars, and they were well-mannered. But they also had the official factory team, which had no other than, well, the hotshot Ronnie Peterson back then driving for them.
Speaking of hotshot Swedes, Anders Nilsson is in second right now, only 66 hundredths behind. Oh my goodness! Well, that's not going to help. He's taken the left front corner off the car and the T-Tray wing.
Probably so he's a great impersonation here of Ronnie Peterson by another very quick Swede. Though I must say that Anders is a very smooth driver compared with Peterson, who was well known to be all the time making the car slide and being a spectacle on wheels, basically putting up a big show for the spectators.
Also looking here at Ray Radal driving the Emerson Fittipaldi Gold Leaf Lotus 72, and he's currently in 5th place coming to the line. We'll see if he can make an improvement on his time. I don't know, it looks like he's running a bit slow, so this is probably not a lap that he's going to be very concerned about, but he's accelerating now, so it looks like he's starting a lap that he's trying to do at speed. 9 minutes to go in qualifying here, and then we'll probably have our usual 10-minute warm-up prior to the race. Now that's going to hurt him.
You would expect it to be very well suited to this track because it was a very small car, very nimble, as Colin Chapman always liked them, and also with great abilities in terms of braking and maneuvering. So probably a very good car for this twisted track.
Yeah, he's got to clean off his tires now.
Yeah, Juha Boss actually has put the same car in 3rd position right now, which is excellent.
Yeah, he's in the garage right now. I guess he's concluded that he can...
the car is out of question. I mean, Lotus-centered here, these 2 factory cars and also the turbine one. But as I said before, I still don't get my head around why they tried that turbine car here because it's probably not the track most suited. But well, Chapman, we all know he liked to do weird things, so with him you never knew.
Also watching David Saber here driving Pedro Rodriguez's car, who I believe won this race in real life. I believe this is a state-of-the-art, I guess as much of a state-of-the-art as you can tell, BRM.
Yeah,
Not
it's a
entirely-
163.
Yeah, 160.
No, 160. Sorry, the other one is the 153. And
And
this
this
one
would
is
be
the
a
160.
The 160. The V12 that sounds fantastic probably didn't produce a lot of horsepower compared to the Ford, or certainly the Ferrari V12.
No, but it sure took. It sucked fuel like a champion. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry. The V12 is in the Matra. The flat 12 is in the
Yeah.
Ferrari.
Yeah,
My
lots
apologies.
of 12 cylinders here.
Yeah.
Still, because that was a time when you were still allowed to be very free and creative about your engine. So we will hear very different engine notes today. Well, among them the turbine, which is obvious, if you can even call that
Yes.
an engine.
Well, we also have trivia questions lined up. I've got 2 sets of trivia questions today since we have 2 heats. But here's, to give everyone something to think about, here's trivia question number 1. Pedro Rodriguez, who we were talking about just a second ago, and which driver shared the fastest lap honors for this event at 1 minute 25.06 seconds? Was it A, Peter Gethin, B, Jackie Stewart, or C, Howden Ganley? We'll have the answer at the end of Heat 1. So in comes David Saber. 6 minutes to go in qualifying. David Jake's still on top. And it appears that they've, Cesarius is still out there, and the other, I believe this is a 153 BRM, and he's trying to better his time. He's currently 4th. Look at him hang out the back end on that thing.
Yeah, that's something that Cesarius like a lot. But, well, it's actually also a bit of the fast way around with these cars, because they are basically made with those huge rear tires for traction, and the small tiny ones. They are just meant to allow you to briefly point the direction you want the car to go, and then you throttle steer it in that direction.
Yeah,
They were basically sliding all the time.
you basically have to be comfortable sliding the car. If you're not, then you're probably not going to be getting the maximum out of it.
No. And you're
Oh!
never going to be up. Yeah, there you go.
Ow!
Because
Oh, goodness.
that's exactly, I think it illustrates very well the difficulty of driving these cars. Because what you want is the car to slide, to turn, to rotate itself around the corner and come out of it with good traction. But you don't want to get that too far, because if it gets too far, then you lose the car. You're spinning. So it's always a matter of balance that you have to achieve there. It's like doing a wheelie in a motorbike, you know. If you are too slow, you give too little throttle, then the front wheel ends in the ground again. But if you give too much, then you will have a hut instead of a bike.
We're watching
Bike
little.
instead of a hut.
We're watching little Al here too. He seems to be having some fun in Jackie Stewart's Tyrrell.
Mhm.
An interesting car that's a front breather but has a wing right above the radiator. And my goodness, Miller in the turbine has dropped all the way to 10th on the grid. So I guess he's going to have his work cut out for him for the race. But I don't know. We'll see. His car seems a lot more stable than other cars going around this circuit. Even when he gets, like he just did there, onto the grass, he seems like he's in pretty good control. It's just a matter of can he keep it on the island for 20 laps.
Yeah, well, if there is a car that can go unperturbed over the grass, that's a four-wheel drive one, I guess. So
That's true. That's true.
closest to an off-terrain vehicle you will ever drive in a Formula One car.
Yep. Let's take a look at what's coming up soon here at ISO while we have a chance. Next Sunday is the German Grand Prix, Grosser Mobile One Prix von Deutschland, which is round 9 of the F191 series. Sunday, June 21st, green light at 2000 CET. Jonathan Asserclinth will be giving you the play-by-play in that one. I will be trying my hand at driving these cars in a rare one-off appearance. But should be an interesting race, and even though the point spread has increased a little bit in that series, it's still pretty wide open. And of course, Coxon will be back in his car, which will add spice to the mix, sauce to the goose, so to speak. Also, coming up on July 5th, and I'm not going to try to pronounce the Hungarian version of this, but it's the Hungarian Grand Prix, and I will most likely be broadcasting that one myself. That's round 10 of 16, and again, the green light at 2000 CET. So we're coming down to 2 minutes to go here. David Jakes currently is in front. Looks like he's going to have the pole, and he's on track again, looking like he thinks that he might be able to better it even more. Nilsson looks like he's resigned to being in second, as is Juha Boss with third. Cesarius is in the garage in fourth. Tiago Canola is currently fifth and looks like he's on a flyer in another of the BRMs. Man, is he hanging the back end out on that thing. And
Yeah,
now we're looking
nice
from a
four-wheel drift there.
Yeah, very nice. Now we're looking at the chopper shot at the hairpin. The marbles, I would think, are probably pretty evident in this version of Oulton Park. You can see them off the edge of the line. I don't think you'd want to get the car on the marbles, especially with the amount of power that you're putting down. And here comes Canola into the very fast right-hander. Oh, he's losing the back end of the car, so this is probably going to be a throwaway lap. But
yeah, we were talking about that balance before, and well, it's obvious that he overdid it this time.
All right, so that doesn't look like Canola's going to be improving his time in this situation. Coxon is in seventh right now, and he's driving a Surtees. I'm sure that Richard is really anxious to get back in the saddle, so to speak.
Yeah, it wasn't the best of the returns for him because he was struggling a bit with the Surtees at the beginning of the session. Which is normal because he's a bit rusty. He hasn't been able to drive for some time, and he came a bit late after getting his PC back in running order. He came a bit to being able to practice for the race and all that. But, well, I'm sure we will see him up to speed very quickly.
Yeah, it's not going to be long before we see him back at the front, and he's got another whole week to prepare for Hockenheim. So I'm sure he's going to be doing just fine. And with 15 seconds to go, it appears that David Jakes will take the pole for the first heat. I should have looked at the race thread before the start. Is there going to be a second qualifying session for Heat 2?
No, Heat 2 is going to be determined by the Heat 1 results.
I see. So, red light on the circuit, all zeros on the clock, and it appears that David Jakes has won the pole, Anders Nilsson second, Juha Boss third, Cesarius Lipinski fourth, Tiago Canola fifth, Ray Rodal sixth, Richard Coxon seventh, Little Al is eighth, Dave Miller in the turbine ends up ninth, and David Saber 10th. And 11th, Brian Janik, 12th, Richard Wilkes, 13th, K.O. McKeels, 14th, Bruno Chacon, 15th, Jonathan Asserclinth, 16th, Jules Bouchard, and 17th, Vadim Tasiak. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Am I correct there or no?
I guess so, because even if he is resident in Germany, I think he's of Eastern country origin. Not sure which one.
All right. Well, we're going to be going to the warm-up in a second here, and while we have a moment, let's pause for a commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages. Don't go away.
You know, Mustang pioneered a whole new breed of cars, personal, sporty cars that could bring out a completely new personality in you. Now, for 1971, Mustang is something else. Oh, it's still the leader, but with more flair and elegance than ever. This is our lowest price Mustang, the two-door hardtop. It has a new wider stance, which means terrific handling. And best part, it's not a lot of money. Here's the new Mustang Grande. A vinyl roof, a real personal luxury look. Inside, it's plush, roomy, with a great new instrument panel, console, and some fine new options to choose from. How's this for European flair? The new Mach 1 has air scoops, a 302 V8, racing mirrors, and just about the swiftest roofline around. Why don't you road test one of our new Mustangs? Ford gives you better ideas.
Right, Big Daddy, let it all out. You're talking about the rubber that makes it big. Big Daddy, Big Daddy. Right, Big Daddy, why Big Daddy? He's lowering his knee and he's digging the seat. The rubber that makes it big. Big Daddy, Big Daddy. Right, Big Daddy, Big Daddy. Right, Big Daddy, Big Daddy. Right, Big Daddy.
Atlas Big Daddy. It makes tracks a mile wide for everyone else to follow. Big Daddy, dig it at Esso.
Whatever you drive, wherever you drive it, we've got the tires you need. Atlas tires from Esso.
My antiperspirant is convenient, it's reasonably priced, and it smells okay. I just wish it had worked better for me.
If your antiperspirant doesn't do what you hired it to, fire yours and hire ours. Right Guard antiperspirant. Get the drying agent that really helps keep you dry.
Does my antiperspirant really keep me dry? That's hard to say. No, it doesn't. Not all the time, anyway.
Then fire yours and hire ours. Ours is Right Guard.
Love can be quiet, but it's never asleep. There's always something moving. I would feel that even if I were not Catherine Deneuve. But it's hard for me to talk about, especially in English. I just need that in love. I need that wonder. Chanel No. 5 bath powder and spray cologne, because he needs wonder too. You don't have to ask for it. He knows what you want. Chanel.
Easy to lift, easy to start. It's the Easy Snowmobile, the compact elan from Skidoo. Easy to move, our lightest. Easy to own, our lowest priced. Fact is, elan is not a toy. Its full-size track makes it the most exciting little performer on the snow. Skidoo elan. When you look at all the facts, Skidoo has more going for you.
Kool-Aid lemonade, Kool-Aid lemonade, Kool-Aid lemonade, not as sweet as it sounds.
New sugar-sweetened Kool-Aid lemonade with natural lemon flavor.
Not as sweet as it sounds. Kool-Aid lemonade, not as sweet as it sounds. Kool-Aid lemonade.
Sugar-sweetened Kool-Aid lemonade mix. It's inexpensive and not as sweet as it sounds.
And we're back. So we're watching Richard Coxon now going around the track. Yeah, I guess the biggest concern for him is kicking the cobwebs out, right, Alberto?
Sorry, kicking the...
Getting rid of the cobwebs and the rust.
Yeah. I think he needs... Well, this also is a mod that he hasn't driven for a long time. I guess it's the same for everybody, but when you've been out of the cockpit for a while, I guess that if the last thing he drove was the Formula 1 Dallara, the impact is even better, but he'll adapt. Sure of that. This is a car he already drove in the championship when we did the full one. Although This time the cars have physics updates by Wilkes, so they drive slightly differently. In my opinion, even better. I think he nailed it completely, even if they can be at times frustrating on the brakes. But I mean, that's exactly how the cars were in real life. You had to be really careful with that. So now Anders Nilsson is now on top in the warm-up session. This could be more indicative of the pace that they are going to have in the race, because we've seen short qualifying runs with very low fuel, but obviously in the race there will be, even if it's not a long race, but the fuel will already be making a noticeable difference.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like what you're indicating there. This is probably very indicative of what's going to happen. And if Anders has this kind of pace in the race, it's going to be pretty good. Just it's curious. We don't see David Jakes out here, so we really don't have anybody to. We can't compare him against the guy who's qualified in the pole, but also you see Thiago Canola is second, Coxon is third on the chart. So even though Coxon didn't have the greatest of qualifying sessions, that's fine if he's showing this kind of pace in the warm up. That's pretty indicative of where he's going to be.
Yeah, we should also probably be seeing the Brabhams be a bit slower now. The BRMs be a bit slower now, because due to the higher fuel consumption, they will have to also load more fuel on board, so they will be slower compared to in race trim compared with the qualifying trim.
That's true, but you have to also take into account, looking at the track map, that these are just 20-lap heats individually, so that it's not like they're going to be filling the cars up to full capacity either. So if it were a full Grand Prix, 200 miles, that would be another matter.
Will be even bigger, yes. But
yeah.
In any case, it will. I mean, that always happened. They had to load more fuel, but it won't be that quick. But the pecking order that we have seen in qualifying, it will change, that's for sure.
Yeah. So 9 minutes to go. It's amazing to think, Alberto, that we're already coming up on, well, we are really at the midpoint of the year. It seems like only yesterday we were starting this first full, complete ISO season. We've had other seasons in the past, but they really encompassed only a few one-off races and actually one series that we did.
Yeah, it was basically a side project, but it has become now our new home.
But I think so far the reaction has been very good, and the thing I've really been the most happy about is how we've had incredible parity in the series. There's no one series where someone is running away with things. At least I don't think so.
Yeah, it's more or less working well. And I think it shows that we've been already doing this for several years. But, I mean, you can never have the perfection. But for sure, you can try to do as much as you can, and it's paying off. I think we're having very good seasons overall. So I just cross my fingers that everything stays like this till the end of the year. And for the following one, for which we are already preparing some very nice things. We're very motivated about it. So let's see how this all pans out over the year.
You can see
most cars are now on track. And I was wondering why Richard Wilkes had been slower in qualifying. Now I'm reminded. Last time he was driving one of the factory Lotus, but this time he's in one of the old model March, the 701, and that's, well, I'm not saying it's a dog of a car, because the handling is not really bad, but it certainly is slower than the more modern equipment that the other drivers have.
Yeah, I mean, I could have sworn the other day on another subject that I was reading, someone had written a piece about current Formula One and had suggested that maybe it was time F1 considered having customer cars.
Yes.
Exactly, in order to fill out the field. And there's part of me that thinks that, why wouldn't we do that? It would certainly get the field up to a decent size again, because we've been running with 20 cars around for a number of And unless you're running Monaco, that's kind of, I don't know. I'm not a fan of running fields that are that small as Nilsson hangs the back end out again. Oh, man.
That's the funny thing. In the modern Formula One tracks, with those big autodromes that were designed for the public, for the television, everything is so wide, so open, you get a good view, and then you only have 20 cars lapping around, and it starts feeling really odd.
All right, so coming up to 5 minutes ago, if you had to predict who would win, well, I mean, it's two heats, obviously, but who do you think we can see, expect to see in the winner's circle?
At this point, I think that everybody would put his money in either Anders Nilsson or David Yates. There's always Thiago Canola, who seems to be getting up to speed very quickly with the BRM. And you can never discount Richard Coxon. No matter if he came from being rusty, but I would say, let's say Anders Nilsson, because he seems to be on a lucky strike after winning Milwaukee. So I'll put my money on that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he followed up Milwaukee with another win today. I think he gets my vote too, frankly. Ooh, interesting development here. Look who's fourth in the on the warm-up chart. K.O. McKeels.
He is. There's a big gap to the first car, which is Thiago Canola. I'm not sure what has been going on. Probably some of the quicker cars have been doing some experiments or, I don't know, exploring the track a bit. But yeah, it's nice to see him there in the top 5.
Yeah, we'll see how he does. Oh my goodness. Definitely testing the limits of those Goodyears. In the Lobster Claw BT34, I believe it is. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think K is also a veteran of Grand Prix Legends, so he's no foreigner to driving sideways.
Yeah, that's true.
There was a running joke there about not sure if it was a running joke of rally drivers, but it was something like real drivers have the dead mosquitoes on the side windows.
I like that one. Well, he's certainly exploring the rotation angle that the car will afford him.
He's really dancing with the car.
Yeah, he is.
But not
there
the
goes
woes.
Canola.
This is more like the death dance.
Good grief.
In any case, he seems to be having fun.
Yeah,
I guess 90% of the objective of this all was achieved.
Yeah, there's two specs of Brabhams in this race. The 34, which is the Lobster Claw one we're watching now, and the older 33 spec. It'll be interesting to see how what the difference is between those two. I believe Johnny Aces is driving the...
Yes, he's driving the older one.
Yes, he is driving the older, yes.
You can visibly tell the difference between cars. I mean, this one has that open air dam in the front with a rounded shape and reminds very much to the cars of the late 60s with basically some wings put on, and
yes.
Well, that's what it was. The heritage of that car came, the heritage came from the Brabham from the late 60s that had worked so well.
I'm going to be really curious to see how the BRMs fare in the race, because you're right. I mean, qualifying is a very different thing from running a race pace, even though this is a short race. It's funny, too, how people, so far, like, there have been instances, I think, I can't think of a specific instance, but, people who've been having a kind of a lackluster year in the main series they're in, they come to a Lucas Vidra, open race, and the pressure is kind of off. You're not, thinking about the series at large, so to speak, and it's more of just, it has a way of, I think, rejuvenating people's interest because it's based on variety.
Now Anders Nilsson was trying to do a test start in the main straight, and Richard Wilkes just came from behind on a hot lap and found Anders standing there in the grid.
Oops.
And it seems that, unfortunately, history has repeated itself for Peterson.
Oh,
he
boy.
was rammed big time in the grid, and I mean, it's hard not to make a joke of it, but it wasn't actually. That's how poor Ronnie Peterson died some years later in 79. Sorry, 78 was it actually. And but, well, it was ironic to see that, but it was a big accident here.
Well, that does bring up a good point. We've had some pretty hairy starts as of late. The starts at Silverstone and Milwaukee were actually really good. So I think maybe people are calming down a little bit. We'll see. We'll see how things pan out at the start of this race. I'm thinking, I mean, the distance of both of them is the same. So typically when you have a shorter heat for the second one, people are a bit more frantic. That happens a lot when we do touring cars. But in this case, they're both the same distance. So I would think that we'd see, if anybody's going to have any hairy incidents, they're probably going to happen in the first race. I don't know. Now I'm going to be proven completely wrong. You watch. All right. We're looking at all zeros on the clock right now, and that means we'll be going to the first heat, 20 laps around Oulton Park. This should be a very exciting race. These cars are always fun to watch, and you'll be seeing people right on the edge of adhesion the whole way around. We're glad that you're with us. Thanks for tuning in. Those of you who tuned in late, I'll give a quick reminder of what the trivia question is. We'll have the answer for it at the end of the first heat before we go to our break. Pedro Rodriguez and which driver shared the fastest lap honors for this event? Was it Peter Gethin, Jackie Stewart, or Howden Ganley? We'll have the answer later on. So there's a slight lag now in the game as we go to the race session. There we go. 20 laps on the board. And we'll give you the grid, as always, when the cars are coming onto the grid. Oh, you can hear the turbine starting up.
You can certainly hear it.
That very distinctive sound.
I'm not going to say the names, but I know there are drivers that have been frantically toning down the sound engine of the other opponent cars so as not to hear it constantly pushing all around.
Okay. A lot of cars on the grid. Jakes is waiting to the very last minute to get on the grid. There he goes.
Yeah, we ended up today with 17 cars here, which is, I think, probably the perfect thing. I mean, this event, you don't see Ferraris, for example, here. It was one of those Grand Prix that was hosted. Many places, organizations and countries had extra Grand Prix out of the normal schedule that gave points for the Formula One Championship. It was still the Grand Prix tradition of giving a good prize. And many of the Formula One teams were here, but not all of them. So this is more or less actually a very realistic grid compared with real life.
Yeah.
And for this small track, it's for sure a much better, much safer one than having like 20-something cars here and, well, waiting for anything to happen on turn one.
All right, so we're on the parade lap right now. On the pole, David Jakes in the CMG Racing March. Second, Anders Nilsson in the factory March engineering car with STP, the Racer's Edge. Third is Juha Boss for Team Lotus. Fourth, Cesarius Lipinski for BRM. Fifth, Tiago Canola in another BRM. Sixth, Ray Radal, Team Lotus. Seventh, Richard Coxon making his triumphant return, driving for Team Surtees. I believe that's Brian Redmond's car. Eighth, Little Al, driving Jackie Stewart's Tyrrell. Ninth, Dave Miller, driving the aforementioned turbine car, Lotus, with the Pratt & Whitney. 10th is Brian Janik in an older March, 701. 11th, David Saber in another BRM. 12th, Richard Wilkes driving the Frank Williams prepared March 701. 13th, Cale McHeels in the Lobster Claw Brabham BT34. 14th, Bruno Chacon in the Team Surtees entry number 27. 15th, Johnny Aces in the older BT33. 16th, Jules Bouchard in McLaren. And 17th, I believe the last starter is Vadim Tasiak in the Gene Mason Racing March 711. So the cars are coming around now, and they will take up their grid slots, and then we will turn them loose for 20 laps for the first heat this evening, and then we'll take a short break, and then we'll be back for the second heat, which I believe will start in the order that they finished the first heat.
Yep. David Jake's taking it easy, quite slow warm-up lap. He's taking, probably doesn't want to risk sitting for too long in the grid while the other cars get to their respective places, just so as not to overheat the engine, although these cars are not as sensitive as the Formula 1 91 ones.
Yeah, the 91 ones definitely start to heat up quickly when you're stopped. But here's David bringing the car up to the line. Left-hand side of your picture is David Jakes. On the right-hand side is Anders Nilsson. So we have marches on the front row. Looks like we're already at starter's orders, so everyone stand by for Heat 1. And the race is underway! Excellent getaway by David Jakes.
And by Thiago Canola, who just...
Yeah, Canola looks like he's coming up to third there. Anders Nilsson tucks in behind the red march. You're going to have to be really keen to see the difference between the two of them. The STP colors are with Nilsson. Yes, as they come around onto the short straight, definitely Thiago Canola has secured third place. Juha is fourth. Cesare is fifth. Richard Coxon is up to sixth now. Coming down to the hairpin for the first time. It should be a really interesting shot as they head into the hairpin.
Leading the race already.
Yes.
Bit of a bottleneck in turn one on the back of the grid, but they mostly got along quite well. So they slotted one behind the other because you can. I mean, now that we see many cars together, you can realize how narrow this track is compared with other venues that we've been racing at.
Yeah, Nilsson already showing fantastic pace.
Thiago Canola there took too much of the curve, slow down, and Juha Boss has been able to regain
Yes, Juha makes it up to the third place, but Thiago is definitely not going to take that lying down. And you can hear that the turbine is not far behind this group. But definitely a lot of the action is going on third, fourth, fifth, and sixth here. They're riding with Thiago Canola right now as he pursues Juha Boss. As the first lap has been completed.
Yeah, and Anders is certainly not leaving anything in the table. He knows this is a short race, and he must be sure to, as soon as possible, open a gap and be safe from any attacks. Because if you fall into the clutches of someone who is following you here, it's very easy that you find yourself very soon hounded by like 4 or 5 cars. Because remember, this is not just a narrow track, it's also quite short. It's not big. I mean, you can easily catch up with another car here. The distances are not big.
You can see here how people are hanging the back end out coming through the hairpin. Richard Wilkes. Johnny Ace is taking a slightly wider line than everybody else. Oh my goodness, K.O. McKeel's definitely looking out of shape there in the Brabham.
Look at Anders now. I mean, the gap is already incredible.
He's got this race under control very much.
Rida there in the grass, nearly lost control, thankfully able to rejoin. But oh my, I mean, too much of a curve and you're in trouble. And look at that, Richard Wicks is now up to 9th position.
Yeah, it looks like Juha might have a chance here against Jakes. Now he decides to think better of it. But yeah, you can see that there's a huge gap now between... it's not that huge in terms of time, but it certainly looks big on the track. 2 seconds, 2.5 almost. And Jakes, as he lets the back end really hang out, has got to be watching his mirrors for Juha Boss. Juha definitely looking up the inside now, and he's through. Juha takes second place.
To see him.
Yep. So Juha up to second place in his Lotus. Jakes down to third.
And unless he ups his pace, he's going to fall soon prey to Canola. And
yeah, Canola's right behind him as well. Yeah, you got BRMs coming from behind here. pretty quick. Canola taking a wider line here, trying to square off the hairpin and get good acceleration. A reminder, too, that this is just one of 2 heats that are tonight. And
Jonathan Otherkin has crashed.
Oh, no!
Yeah, he's entering the pits now with a crippled car. No rear wing. I don't think he will be able to make any repairs, but we'll see.
Yeah, this is a few minutes ago, so this is clearly an incident that happened a while. Now he's looking like a Formula Ford as he comes in with no front or rear wing. That's too bad.
And Yakes is already having to defend heavily from Thiago Canola. No matter how big the rounded mirrors in that March are, the BRM behind doesn't even fit there anymore. I mean, it's bigger than that, so close it is.
Although Jakes is staying right with Juha right now. He's not letting him get far away. Of course, these battles are playing right into the hands of Anders Nilsson. He's just able to streak away while these guys duke it out. And Canola there looking for any daylight he can find to get around that March 7-11. I drove the Lotus a bit in practice, and around this course, the Lotus handles really nice. Of course, that was something that Colin Chapman's cars were always famous for, that they were lightning quick and very elegantly designed. And handling is definitely at a premium on a track like this, so I would expect Lotus to do well.
Yeah, the hands of Juha is already putting up a
here
good
comes
show.
Thiago looking for room, but my goodness, he almost made a mess of that going into that corner. The car was... Now it looks like he's going to come under attack from his own teammate, Cesarius, on the outside. Oh my goodness, there's actual contact there, but Cesarius makes it up into 4th place. That was rather close.
Yeah, but that's what you get. I mean, just the slightest distraction, the slightest problem that you get when trying to overtake another car, and you pay dearly for it if there is another car close by. It's enough to lose momentum and let Cesarius power by.
So that gives Jakes a bit of a reprieve. He's not under attack from anybody at the moment, but Cesarius has got to be... He's got to be vigilant because clearly there are no team orders at the BRM camp.
No, certainly not. Whereas, meanwhile, we've got a 3-way British battle going between Coxon, Miller, and Riddle. Miller has been following Coxon, probably delighting him with the sound of the turbine engine. And Riddle, meanwhile, has been closing from behind and is already nearly under the rear wing of that turbine car.
Yeah, riding with Dave Miller right now. Mrs. Dave watching via YouTube. He doesn't seem to be gaining much on...
Right there. He veered off the track under acceleration and he hit the wall. Seems to be able to return to track, but that was unfortunate. Hopefully his car's not being crippled. And there goes Brian Janik. Amazing 4-wheel drift he did just over the hairpin, following Richard Wilkes. Both in the same car, actually, private March 701s.
As Canola looks up the inside just briefly of, well, I guess that foreshortened shot made it appear like there was more happening there than there was. Yeah, Janik is now solidly into 10th place. Little Al in 11th. Sabre 12th, Chacon 13th, KO McKeel's 14th. So even though KO had very good pace in the warm-up, it appears that the race is not quite turning out the way he wanted to, but of course there is one more heat to go. Dave Miller now closing on Coxon a bit.
Dave Sabre briefly in the grass, but he has returned to track with no damage, I guess.
Yeah, the traction of that Lotus is evident to see, especially coming out of the hairpin. No smoke, no histrionics. He's able to get on the power really well.
Well, and Anders is right now at the point where he doesn't even see anybody in the mirrors because he's already past the next turn when the other guys appear behind.
Yeah, he exits the turn. Now here comes second and third, Juha and David Jakes, and then the two BRMs, Schlepinski and Canola. then Coxon, then Miller. And Miller is definitely starting to pull on Coxon's chain a bit. Radal then following that group.
David Jacks got some relief now thanks to the teammate battle between Cesarius and Thiago Canola. And has been able to buy himself some room. And I'm sure he will be able to now get on a better pace, and maybe he will start the hunt for Juha Boss again.
Meanwhile, we're riding with Coxon right now, and he's got Miller crawling all over the back of him.
Look at Brad Riddell. Despite that outing that we saw before, he's now back there on track. So if Dave Miller thinks he has more pace than Richard Coxon, he better overtake him soon, or he will be again in trouble.
I don't know that oh my goodness, Coxon just had a huge moment before he got to the hairpin. So I don't know, if Miller keeps up the pressure, he might be able to get by very soon. I haven't driven this turbine very much. Is it really a case of it's just an awkward car to drive because you're driving with no gears? Is that really the crux of the problem?
It's awkward because you have to adapt mentally.
Lotus battle here. Radal now. Oh, look at that. Radal goes through and takes his teammate, driving the conventional Lotus. But Miller looks like he might counterattack here. Well, maybe not. But, Radal looks like he's going to try to take a stab at Coxon now. Although, Miller doesn't want to give it up. He's coming out now. Looks like he's got a bit of... Well, no, not really. So, interesting that we have some intramural battles going on here between teams. The leader is... Oh, my goodness.
There's also one between Caio Michiels and Bruno Chacon going on. Very interesting one. Caio trying to find his way past.
Yeah, looking to find a way past Bruno Chacon, but... looks like they're pretty evenly matched there as you see Caio smoking the tires as he puts the power on.
Yeah, it's as long as he has the car sideways, I don't think he has many chances of passing Bruno, who has it quite straight. Because
all right, so
they're not advancing in the same direction, it seems to me.
Looks like Ray might have an opportunity here with Coxon because they're both trying to get by Jules Bouchard, who makes a lot of room. They get on the power here, and Ray is right underneath Coxon's rear wing, and you can see there how just a slight hesitation with the throttle when you're shifting up. Look at this. Ray is going to pull alongside here on it, and it's very narrow here, so it's very tricky, but it looks like he's going to get by. Yes, Ray Radal up to 6th place. Coxon drops to 7th, but that was a very well-planned maneuver. He managed to get purchase on the inside, and I don't think Jules Bouchard really played into that at all. But look at Coxon. He's right under the rear wing of Radal. He does not want to let that 6th place slip away. And Miller has got the $75 seat for this. And Coxon really working that inside line, trying to stay with Ray Radal.
Yeah, Radal killed the spill of the car there in the apex, knowing that Coxon was behind, and that even if Coxon was coming quickly, killed his momentum also out of the turn. But
believe it or not, next time by we'll be halfway through this heat.
Yep, it's a short heat, it's a short track, and well, with all the action, the laps are going by quickly. While on the front, things are getting tight again because Juha Boss is now getting hunted by David Jakes. The difference has decreased. There's Slapinski and then Canola. It seems that Slapinski for now has been able to stay ahead of Canola, but they are all quite close.
There's a really good battle going on here between Brian Janik and Richard Wilkes. Both driving March 701s, and it looks like a pretty even match. Brian is staying right in the slipstream of Richard right now. Oh my goodness, he's got a big run now as they come up to this corner, but that was not going to be a good place to overtake. That's kind of a one-groove turn. But definitely Brian is keen to get by Richard here.
Yes, this track is certainly not making overtaking any easy.
No, not at all. And, we missed it, but Dave Miller got by Coxon as well. Yeah, this happened a while ago. So,
yes.
but the
it's now
so the turbo
drifting the car through the corner.
Coxon
And
ran wide
speaking
with
of,
his
we
gates.
got here Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Parked
Oh
the
my
car.
goodness, we got
there's a car there in the sun. Who's that? I think Vadim Tasiak.
Number 30.
Yeah, he crashed.
Yes, we've got a. You can see there's a loose wheel flying onto the track, and I believe that is that's Vadim's car out of the race, unfortunately. Sorry that your race was short, Jonathan, but you've got another stab at it coming up.
Only aim will be to stay on track. Just really struggling to keep these cars on track, no matter how I try to drive. So, just as in previous iterations, just mod the cars
Now
just to suit my driving style.
Now you know why I'm in the booth.
Fair enough.
Oh man, Coxon had a really good opportunity there on the plate with Miller, but oh my goodness, he's really fighting that car. Trying really hard to stay with the Lotus, but he almost had
It's
Dave
Brian
Miller there
Janik
for a
who nearly
second.
has Richard Wilkes now.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, he's right with him now, vying for 9th place. Janik obviously has had a lot of good drives in F191, but he's had appalling luck there too. He had 2 engine failures in that race on starts, so I'm sure he's enjoying an opportunity to drive something a little different than his Minardi Ferrari for a change. He's going to be back in the saddle with that car for the next race a week from today. Looks like Wilkes has
And Jules
solidified.
Bouchard
Is not
just crashed, and he has lost the front wing.
who?
We'll see if he will be going for repairs or try to continue. I guess in this car, especially the old models like the one that Bouchard is driving, no, he goes by the pits.
Oh, K.O. McKeel's having a spin now. K.O. McKeel's into the grass doing several 360s. Looks like he's going to be able to recover, but my goodness, that was a pretty hair-raising spin. He actually got so far away from the camera that it cut to another one that didn't show the car. But he's back on course now in 13th place.
That's a very lucky mistake in that area. If you go off there,
Yeah.
you very often find the barriers.
Yuha has dropped to 5th place, actually, so he had an incident somewhere that we didn't see, and that brings the BRM duo of Schlipinski and Canola up to 3rd and 4th, and it'll be interesting to see if they can make any headway with Jakes, who is very definitely, well, yeah, the gap is now 9 seconds between our leader, Anders Nilsson, and David Jakes. So I'm thinking Jakes is going to be tuning his setup for the next race, trying to find a better balance to stay with the Swede. Nilsson, no surprise, driving Ronnie Peterson's car, Jonathan.
Yeah, it's one of those Swedish heroes, especially in motorsport. There are very few, so whenever the opportunity arises, especially Anders, who actually lived through that era of F1, will surely take that opportunity.
And it does look like Thiago is starting to close a little bit on David Jakes here. We'll see what happens in the ensuing laps here. We've got 8 to go.
It's
as they
much
come to the
closer
line.
between Yannick and Wilkes. Ooh, nearly got there.
Oh, Ray Riddle has crashed out.
Oh no! Well, that might explain that wheel that I saw that was loose when we were looking from an onboard shot a minute ago. Janik is definitely giving he's giving Richard Wilkes no rest at all. Shotgun closing. Oh my goodness! There goes KO off the track, and there are parts flying, and he's out of the race. Oh boy! So there's another retirement. Little Al running wide now a little bit, but he's able to save it. He's got clag all over his tires. It's going to take him a second to get those cleaned off.
Yeah, he dropped at the start of the race, and then he had an outing and was overtaken by Kayo Michiels and Bruno Chacon, who were fighting on their own, close by to them, but could not make it through. was surprised a bit for some of the braking and had to go out and again. So it's been a bit like a mountain to climb for him all the time, falling off the other side when he was on the top. So hard race, hard race.
Canola is definitely closing on David Jakes now, so we could see a battle for second place in a moment here. He's using all 12 cylinders of that BRM. Jakes trying very hard to stay on the island here. That march definitely is very loose for him. As they come across the line.
Now trying also to overtake Bruno Chacon, nearly got him. Whoa.
Tiago's doing an excellent job with a car that probably handles like a pig around here, truthfully. Looking on the inside there of Jakes. He's definitely staying right with him. The oil coolers on that 711 are kind of interesting. They're kind of mounted at angles. It's probably trying to optimize airflow to them. But
that BRM actually handles pretty alright around here. It's
really
obviously very heavy, but as long as you like give it the time it needs in the corners, then it rewards you quite well down the straights.
And Tiago doesn't really have to worry about Chazarias right now. He's far enough back that he can focus on the battle at the front.
David Wide.
Oh, David Wide. Tiago goes on the grass. Is he going to make it stick? He does. My goodness. Good opportunistic driving by Tiago there. And it's really, I mean, we've seen it before in other times we've run this mod. A lot of times
Cesarius in the grass now.
Yeah, Shlapinski runs a bit wide there.
Look at that, the chance to go by.
Oh yes, Juha goes up to 4th place, taking advantage. Well, again, it's OPP, taking advantage of other people's problems. Often is the way you move up in these cars. Especially on a track like this where there's such a premium on space.
Yeah.
Although we have
Yannick is going to have nightmares today watching the rear end of a March 701 in front of him.
Yeah, he's going to have that imprinted on the back of his eyelids. But it looks like he may have a shot here. Well, he's staying right with him. We got a yellow flag as we come into the corner here. Not sure what that's about.
Possibly Saber.
Maybe.
Seems to be running quite a bit further back from everyone else.
But Janik is definitely... Oh, he had a moment there where he might have gotten a foothold. But the pace of these two is fast and furious right now. We'll see if they're able to... oh, here comes the hairpin. This might be the chance that Brian's looking for. No, he's going to tuck in behind Wilkes. Oh, well, he had a little bit of a purchase in the inside there. Maybe this is the opportunity he's looking for. Because we've seen overtakes happen on this straight. Yeah, there he goes. He's looking up the inside. And Wilkes, to his credit, is giving him the room. Coming up to... Oh, goodness. He gets it done just before that turn. Fantastic pass. And now he's starting to pull away. So, it looks like Janik definitely was being held up slightly by Richard Wilkes. Not to take anything away from his driving.
Shlapinski now right behind Bruno Chacon, also fighting for position.
Shlapinski is starting to make some inroads again with Juha. He wants to try to get that 4th position back. Oh my goodness! I believe that was
David Saber.
That was David Saber. Okay, so that was not a pass for position then. Juha getting a bit loose going into the hairpin. Cesarius might have an opportunity here down this straightaway. Depends on who gets on the power the earliest. Looks like Juha has really good purchase coming off the corner. And of course, Cesarius has the opportunity here of the slipstream. There are several cars up ahead here that might factor into this battle.
Oh, goodness. Janik spins, and Richard Wilkes is able to go through again.
Oh, yes. Yes, Janik has spun. He's clouded the barrier there. He's got a dent in the front nose. He's able to keep going.
Wilkes.
Yes, Coxon definitely...
really got it done, thanks to Wilkes having to slow down. Let's see if he makes it.
Oh, he might have a chance here. He goes to the inside. And gets it done, looks like. Yes, Coxon goes up into 7th place. Wilkes slots in behind.
Now
My
the
goodness.
poor Wilkes had just got back the place from Yannick, and he just lost it in half a kilometer. Back to where he started.
Oh, Coxon runs wide. Might be a chance here for Wilkes to counterattack. Now he was able to keep the momentum. Miller, with all this silliness, is managed to solidify sixth with his Lotus Pratt & Whitney turbine. So, I mean,
And
in
the
this
other
car, that's not
Surtees
bad.
is fighting with Little Al, who is now also trying desperately to get by Bruno, who is a guy who is very steady in his driving and very capable of making his car really wide.
Yes. Oh my goodness, Bruno runs wide there. Yeah, Little Al may have a chance here eventually. Looking up the inside as they go into this turn now, it's probably not the best place to do it. Little Al gets all out of shape. Goodness. It gives Bruno a bit of a reprieve.
Yeah, if you're in the middle of the track here, it doesn't leave any room either left or right. So it seems that Bruno has learned that lesson well.
So Canola, who is in second place, you can see Jake's just behind him. Jake's is still within shouting distance of Canola, so it'd be interesting to see if he can make any impression. Nilsson is checked out. He's 11 seconds in front of Canola at this point in the March. So Canola clearly did his homework. I'm sorry, I meant to say Nilsson. Nilsson really did his homework setting up the car for the race. And that fast time we saw in the warm-up clearly was indicative of what we could expect. Canola power sliding his way through the left-hander, now into the hairpin. Yeah, so only 3 laps to go now in this heat for Nilsson. Just dominating this race.
And Little Al has got back with Bruno Chacon, but is still unable to pass. This is going to be also a nightmare for him.
Yeah, Bruno seems to have the better handling car right now. And he's got the benefit of all the downforce on those wings, whereas Little Al's constantly having to fight, having less downforce on the front than he would like. Oh my goodness! That was a rather unconventional line into that corner, but Little Al stays with Bruno. And the reason they are fighting so hard for this, obviously, is because this is the last points-paying position for the... well, the points will be awarded to aggregate later, but these drivers are hardwired to see 10th as like the last opportunity to score points. Oh, Richard Coxon's out of the race. He's blown his engine.
And so is Dave Miller. Wait a moment. He's reversing now from the grass. But he seems to have slid into the...
Yeah, he's run off the... But he looks like he's all right. He's dropped to 7th, but it appears... let's have a look at a replay of this. This is a replay moments ago of what happened here. Seems okay here.
Broken engine, I would say. It's smoking badly from the rear right now when he's stopping.
Well, he spun. Oh yeah, and it appears the engine stopped there. So I don't know. No, it's running now. He's still going. There was black smoke coming off of Coxon's car. So.
Oh, Little Al finally made it past Bruno Chacon and is now in 9th position. Coxon quits. Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, that smoke definitely looked terminal. So coming around to start his final lap in this heat is Anders Nilsson. He's already been christened the Super Swede in the YouTube chat. Driving the Super Swede's car. I'm sure he's going to be really thrilled with this result. Of course, then the challenge will be, can he duplicate that result in heat number 2? And I would love to be a fly in the wall in the garage of David Jakes, because he's got to figure out what he can do to make his car faster.
Yes, Cesarius now stopping. He was in 5th position. I think broken engine also.
His engine's blown too. My goodness, amazing. These engines are giving up like right at the very end of the race. That's really too bad. Boss up to 4th now.
They seem to only be able to take the beating for 20 laps.
I guess so. Wilkes up to 6th place now. That's going to elevate Miller as well. But watching now for, Nielsen is now in the backside of the course. He's still got a little ways to go before he gets the checkered flag for this heat. Canola in second, Jakes in third, Yuha is fourth, fifth is Wilkes. So he ended up having a pretty good race in the end, and Miller gets back up to sixth because of the retirement of Schlapinski. He's got a little bit of a late challenge coming up here from Brian Janik.
Anders Nilsson.
Yep, Anders takes the checkered flag and wins the first heat for the evening. Here comes Tiago. He's going to take second place. Great result for him.
Scratch a leaf in the calendar, and now comes Tiago.
Yep,
Third is David Jakes.
David Jakes in third. Juha Boss in fourth. Here
and
comes
Richard Wilkes, a well-deserved top five.
No, it was really good top five considering how much pressure he was under early.
Sixth is the turbine car, followed by Brian Janik. Going sideways there right behind Dave Miller, but probably unable to pass into the short.
No, I think it's a bit late, but Miller finishing sixth in this car is a real
Whoa,
achievement.
look at that.
Whoa, Brian, a bit over enthusiastic there. Looks like he's going to recover and finish in seventh place, which is still good result in that car. Looks like Little Al has had some kind of a. Well, maybe that's just the way that the rollover bar looks on that car. It looks flattened. But he comes through to finish in 8th place. 9th will be Bruno Chacon. 10th and out of the race is Cesarius. 11th, David Saber. 12th, Richard Coxon. 13th, K.O. McKeels. 14th, Ray Rodolph. 15th, Jules Bouchard. 16th, Vadim Tasiak. And 17th, Johnny Aces. Sorry, Johnny.
And this is also your order for the starting grid of the second race.
Yeah, that's gonna set up the grid for that. Definitely. All right, so before we go to our break, let's do the trivia question. We have two of them this evening, as I said before. So the trivia question is: Pedro Rodriguez and which driver shared fastest lap honors for this event in real life? The fastest lap was a minute 26.06. Or minute 25.06. Was it A, Peter Gethin, B, Jackie Stewart, or C, Howden Ganley?
What was driver A, did you say?
Gethin.
Gethin, Stewart, and
Ganley.
One
One of those three shared the fastest lap honors for this event with Pedro Rodriguez. Which one was it?
Completely wild guess with C. Ganley?
No. The correct answer was Peter Gethin.
Well. I reckon it would be one of those, and Stewart was just a red herring, so to speak.
I don't know. I thought Ganley was the red herring when I was putting this together.
Fair enough. I'll be jumping down to the race channel, and but if worse comes to shoves, I'll join you for race 2 as well.
All right, so we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in a little bit with heat number 2. So stay right where you are. All right, so we have a little less than 3 minutes until heat number 2. Drivers are making adjustments, I'm certain, to their cars compared with what they had in heat number 1, if they've learned anything. The grid has already been input for heat number 2 by Yuha, our series admin, so we'll see what's different in heat number 2 compared to heat number 1. Let's take a look at the second trivia question for this evening before we get to the start. Trivia question 2. Who won the International Gold Cup at Oulton Park 5 times in a row, 1954 and 55, and then 1959 through 61? Was it A, Graham Hill, B, Sterling Moss, or C, Jack Brabham? We'll have the answer at the end of heat number 2. Don't forget that coming up next week, the Grosser Mobile 1 Preis von Deutschland, the 9th round of the F1 1991 series. That's tightened up quite a lot in recent rounds. Coxon will be back with his new computer. I will also be rumbling around at the back in a Modena Lamborghini, assuming I qualify. Coverage with Johnny Aces will begin probably around 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time or 1930 CET, green light at 2000 CET. And then the following round is on July 5th, and I will be back to broadcast that one. The Hungarian Grand Prix, round 10 of 16, green light at 2000 CET. All right, so as we've mentioned, even though Nilsson won the first race, the points have not been awarded. There's a second heat, and the aggregate result will determine who is going to be the overall winner of this event, which will then constitute the points for round 4 of the Lucas Vidra Trophy. And I believe Alberto's back in the booth now. Oh, hang on one second. Sorry. There you go. Sorry, I had you muted for a second. You're back now.
Okay. Because
My
I had
apologies.
already made a comment before and you had not reacted, so I suspect.
Sorry about that.
No problem. So I said, I think at this point it's not very safe to bet against Anders Nilsson to get this second leg too, but anything can happen.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely a possibility. All right, so 0's on the clock. We're going to go to the warm-up. Or sorry, not the warm-up, the actual race now. This is heat number 2.
Yes, there is no qualifying in this one, so we're straight into the action.
Mm-hmm. Waiting for that telltale siren. There it is. Yes, they will be lining up in the order they finished.
Again with a warm-up lap.
Yes.
But we can run through the grid. In the warm-up lap.
We'll run through the grid in the warm-up lap regardless, because it's what we do. All right. Cars are showing up on the grid now. Anders is in his March 711, driven by his hero, Ronnie Peterson. Canola still not on the track. Come on, get in there. Go, go, go. Okay, good. Trying to make sure that might have been a tactical decision on his part to make sure that the engine is not on too long.
The interesting thing here is that actually David Yates on a similar car to Anders Nilsson, similar but not the same because it has slightly less power. He was quicker on one lap when they did the qualifying, so I'm wondering to what extent Anders actually benefited from the clean track in front of him, whereas David, Jakes, and Canola all suffered from the battles.
Well, we'll find out.
Yep.
On the pole for the second heat, because he won the first one, Anders Nilsson for March Engineering. Second, Tiago Canola for BRM. Third, David Jakes, CMG Racing. Fourth, Juha Boss in a Lotus, number 36. Fifth, Richard Wilkes in Frank Williams Racing Cars, March 701. Sixth, driving the turbine is Dave Miller. Seventh, Brian Janik. Eighth, Alberto Aquino in the Jackie Stewart Tyrrell. Ninth is Bruno Chacon, Team Surtees. 10th, Cesarius Slipinski after his retirement in Heat 1 in a BRM. 11th in another BRM is David Saber. 12th, Richard Coxon, Team Surtees. These were all retirements in the first heat. K.O. McKeel's in the number 7 Brabham Lobster Claw, BT34. 14th, Ray Rodal. 15th, Jules Bouchard in a McLaren. 16th, Jonathan Asserklinth. And I do not believe Vadim is taking part in the second heat. So that means we're down by 1 car, so a 16-car field. So cars are coming up to the line in just a short bit. And all the guys who had engine failures in race 1, I think, are going to be thinking very hard about their strategy this time. We had a total of how many engine failures? I think 3 in the first race.
Slapinski, did we see someone else smoke?
I thought there was one more. I could be wrong. In any case, we had 2 very high-profile ones towards the end of the race. So
yeah,
certainly these guys are going to want to watch the temperature of the engine. A lot of that actually could come from being behind somebody too long, because you're limiting the amount of air going into the race.
That it is related to overheating. I think it's more a case of over-revving it, of going too much in the downshifts, or maybe in the heat of the battle going too much over the legal limit of the red line.
All right, coming up to the grid once again for Heat 2. This time, there's a different march on the pole, and then we have a BRM on the outside. Won't take long to get him gridded. Starters orders given already. Stand by for Heat number 2.
Watch out, because Thiago is very good at starts. It wouldn't surprise me
and
to see him
Heat 2's underway, and my goodness, already an excellent getaway. But look at this. Here comes David Jakes. Oh, Canola sweeping around the outside. Is he going to take the lead? Maybe. But here comes Nilsson back. Oh my goodness, an excellent battle already for the lead. It looks like Nilsson is going to hang on, but look at Canola. Purchase on the inside, trying desperately to stay in there. Nilsson finally comes up with the lead. Canola in second, David Jakes in third. Look at David Jakes hounding the back of that BRM. He really wants to have a good start here. As they head through the turn, the hairpin, my goodness, lots of smoke.
Very safe start, otherwise.
Yeah, very good start.
Cars have been able to get by very... I mean, it's obvious that they have practiced this in the previous hit. Everybody knows what to do.
Here comes Canola up the inside of Anders Nilsson. Thinks better of it. Doesn't want to do the overtake there, but fantastic start for Canola, and he's not going to let Anders get away. He definitely wants to make hay while he can, while he's got clean tires. And
yes, for sure. I mean, Anders was able to get away. He's trying to open the gap. He's driving in Wayne Rainey style. It's like I open up very strongly and he who can follows me. But there were no takers in Heat 1, but this time it seems to be really different with Thiago Canola there. He seems to have the legs, he seems to have the pace, and as we were already mentioning, it remains to be seen whether Anders can keep that pace with a car behind trying to overtake him.
Yeah.
It benefited a lot previously from the battles of the cars behind.
I think significantly too, remember in Heat number 1, Thiago was stuck behind a car for a great deal of the race, so he didn't have the opportunity to pursue Nilsson that he does now.
Challenging Cesarius, who probably had a problem.
Look at Juha challenging Jakes as well.
Caio Michiels, he hit Cesarius on the side. I mean, Cesarius probably lost the car at some point, and he went down the grid. and is now in the middle of a four-way battle. And wow, don't know how this is going to pan out, but this is not the place I'd like to be right now, because those cars are very close by and those drivers seem to be quite angry.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, definitely definitely a lot of action there. And people got to be careful. Janik is also pursuing Wilkes again, so that battle is back on.
Already, I mean, he nearly hit in the back Anders.
Yeah, he's right with him. And Anders is definitely responding to the pressure. You can see that he's driving the car on the absolute limit. And Juha has made it past David Jakes. We missed that, but let's see. Yeah, it happened a while ago. But so Jakes continues to have his problems in his March 711. But now we see the problem of getting stuck early behind another car. Juha's got a lot of space to make up if he wants to get in on this battle for the lead, but Tiago still right there with Anders Nilsson. So this is not going to, it appears this is not going to be the walkover that heat number 1 was as they head into the hairpin once again. So interesting to see the variety of lines that happen going through here and how much each driver lets the back end hang out. Ooh, K.O. McKeel's very much on the limit as he comes through there.
Yeah, this is the beauty of the Formula Ones of this era. They were so varied. I mean, you had 12 cylinders, you had 8 cylinders, you had different configurations of engine, different solutions on the chassis, and, well, they made a great spectacle.
Dave Miller is holding on to his 6th place in the...
McKeel's made it past Bruno Chacon right now.
Mm-hmm.
Sideways as usual. And guess who is right behind Richard Wilkes?
Yep. No surprise.
Like we said,
although Wilkes is now closing in on... Wilkes is starting to close in on the turbine of Dave Miller. Definitely pulling on him on this straight. We'll see if he's able to make any inroads.
Oh, and Anders makes an error there. He goes wide. The pressure by Tiago seems to have paid off, and Tiago goes in the lead. Not just that,
Tiago into the lead, yes.
And David Jakes is in front.
Let's take a look at it.
It must be the broadcaster's course. Anything can and usually does happen.
Here's the replay of what happened. Nilsson going into turn 1. Yeah, he just runs wide a little bit on turn 1, but I don't think that's what caused it. Yeah, he loses it on the next turn. Yes. Oh, man. Got into the marbles. Runs wide, and that allows Tiago to take the lead. And goodness, yeah, Juha and Jakes both capitalize on that. So, pretty significant development. Tiago out in front now. And definitely, considering the fact that he finished second in heat number 1, he could end up winning if this race on aggregate. Based on that result and this one, if he wins. But of course, we're going to encourage everybody to look at the forum after the race to find out who actually won on aggregate, because I'm bad at mental math on a good day. And I'd much rather just follow the action that's on the track that we can see.
And Brian Janik doesn't want to suffer the same situation as in race 1, but so far he's not succeeding. He's still stuck behind David Jakes.
It's a replay. It's a replay of the previous race.
Little is now behind him. This time he didn't fall behind and get behind the traffic jam, which is now a BRM traffic jam. And it's quite funny because there's Cesarius and David Sabre getting all impatient behind Bruno, who as usually drives unperturbed. He's the guy with the coldest blood in all the grid.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
And it's very funny, there's Cesarius, he doesn't know if to pass left, to pass right, because Bruno is exactly in the middle.
Yep. Heading through the hairpin now on board with Brian.
Sabre goes out. My goodness. Johnny Aces comes from behind. Well, lots of action. You can't say that you are not getting your money worth of your ticket.
Yep. Oh, it looks like Cesarius might have a shot here on Bruno. But Bruno, as you mentioned, is taking a very middle line through the...
And Yannick has got now Wilkes, who had a bit of wheel spin on the grass. Yannick on the grass now, but he made it.
Yeah, he just makes it through. Janik goes up to 7th place.
And I don't know to what extent Richard Wilkes actually let him by just in case Brian Janik took both of them out.
Maybe. Who knows?
Oh
my goodness! Look at little Al light up the tires, braking for the final corner.
Yeah. He was overtaken by Brian Ray. That probably got stuck behind the Wilkes Janik battle, and Wright very opportunistic made a move there with the agile Lotus. But now there's Caio Michiels sideways behind Little Al. The cars of two famous champions, Jackie Stewart and Graham Hill.
So I'm going to be interested to see if Nilsson is able to claw his way back up to third at least, and get. Oh my goodness! Look at this gaggle of cars coming here. Yeah, Cesarius on the inside. My goodness.
And it's Tiago Canola who is opening a big gap this time, so it seems definitely that being on traffic hurts you a lot in this car.
It does.
Compared
it
to
does.
being in cleaner.
KO looking for an overtake on Little Al as they head down the hill here. He might have a shot here as they go into the corner. No, he decides to tuck in behind. Ooh, man. KO showing that loose tail that he so prominently featured in the practice. My goodness, he's all over the place. Finally looks like he's going to... Oh, no, look at that. Little Al hangs onto the outside and maintains 10th place. Really well done.
But man, is that scary, seeing that car moving.
Oh, no! Ray Riddall gets into an accident and there's contact. Oh, my goodness.
Ray Riddall out.
Well, he might be able to continue, but there was contact. Oh, and there's contact again. Oh, now he's very much out of the race because he got hit from behind as other cars were arriving at the scene. Oh, that's too bad. Let's take a look at a replay of this incident.
Really unfortunate.
So, there's a car running wide there, but I don't think it had anything to do with that. No. Oh, yeah. Oh, goodness. Ray just lost it on braking there and ran into the side of, I believe, that was a Surtees. Not sure who it was. Let's have another look. Was it Coxon?
Yes.
Yeah, it was. It was Coxon.
Yes.
Yeah.
He lost it behind Wilkes. Wilkes was braking earlier because he had Brian Janik in front and had killed his momentum.
And Slipinski runs into the back of him. Basically, Slipinski tried to slow down, but Ray was coming back onto the track, and that was a kind of an unfortunate situation, as we love to say. So that melee actually allowed a couple of cars to elevate themselves. KO is now in 9th place. Little Al's 8th.
And Jules Bouchard is also in the pits now. Seems to have unable to continue. Tiago now all by himself, the track all for himself. You have also in 2nd hanging on there. I just hope to see that stick. And Anders Nilsson faced David Jacks amidst of all this action.
somewhere he was able to get ahead of David Jakes. I figured that would happen at some point, but now Anders is trying to close on Juha. If he gets past Juha and he's in 2nd place, it's anybody's guess who the who's going to win on aggregate.
And for Dave Miller is also a replay of the previous race in that he is 5th hanging there, doing a very steady driving, but just waiting for the laps to go by because there's always someone on the hunt behind him. In this case, it's Brian Janik coming hot from behind with also Richard Wilkes there. And then is Little Al and Caio Michiels. Caio Sideways Michiels, we should be starting to call him.
Yep. So, riding on board right now with Anders, and he's definitely stalking Juha.
Wilkes is in the grass. Something happened there. Maybe he killed... he killed the engine. I can't believe it.
Oh, the engine's dead on Wilkes' car. That's too bad. Shoot. Well, these engines are proving to be quite sensitive to over-revving. Meanwhile, Brian Janik looks like he's closing in on Mr. Miller. This will be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, Little Al has bought himself some breathing room from that sideways Brabham that was following him. So he might be able to contact with Brian Janik and Dave Miller at some point, because as we are seeing, if you have clean air in front and nobody is trying to overtake you, disturbing your pace. You are going way quicker.
Yeah,
So
Nilsson
Anders is now close to Juha
Yes,
Boss.
he is.
Not yet in striking distance, but close enough for Juha not to be comfortable at all. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, he's definitely closing quickly.
Yeah, Juha Boss must be looking intermittently at the mirror saying, go away, go away, go away. You're not here. But
And here comes David Jakes in 4th place, and then we've got an interesting battle, as I said, shaping up between the Turbine of Dave Miller and the 701 of Brian Janik, then Little Al, then K.O. McKeels, and then Slapinski, Jonathan Asserklint, and David Saber.
Look at that Brian Janik. I mean, it's obvious that the braking distance, the braking points are very different in the turbine car and in the March 701. For one thing, this turbine car has also one very interesting effect, and that's a turbine has inertia. I mean, if you cut the throttle, that doesn't mean that it gets killed like a normal engine. No, not at all. That thing keeps spinning, but at a slower speed, so it relies solely on the brakes. So Brian Janik is suffering a lot here because it's obviously Dave Miller is not brake checking him, but he needs more distance to stop that heavy turbine car. But then when they come to this main straight, then of course the power of the turbine is impossible for Brian to make up for.
Dave Miller's going to have tinnitus when he goes to sleep tonight.
Yeah, rounding out the hairpin. There's Little Al behind. Still the distance to K.O. McKeels. And then comes the Millennium Falcon of Cesare Slapinski.
Yes. Oh, goodness. Miller has a slow entry.
Jonathan Asserklint again with a crippled car in the pits. Jesus Christ, are we looking at the replay of
well, that's not fixable. There, that's terminal, I'm afraid. My goodness. Oh, there's a sign in the middle of the road. So somebody's had an off there.
Yeah, it seems that the marshals here are not as competent as the USAC ones. So
yeah,
we got debris on the track.
Yeah, Miller's having difficulty hanging onto the car in some of the tighter turns. So that may be a chance for Brian to strike. Oh, goodness. Anders is right with Juha Boss now. Not giving him any rest. We could see
he has been at that distance for some laps now.
Yeah. Oh,
but
look at this.
Probably studying what Juha does.
Yeah, Juha taking a defensive line down that straight.
Yeah, Anders is a very calculating driver, and he will be studying Juha but from a distance, just in case. But, I mean, look at that. Considering the pace he had in race 1 and how he opened the gap, it's amazing that he is taking so long to be close and try to overtake.
I think you may be onto something with the clean air versus dirty air theory.
Nah, slight error there by Juha, but Anders was coming in very hot and wasn't able to capitalize. It's really hairy. Yep. Understeer there, maybe a bit influenced by the arrow, but it's very hairy in this situation to commit to the corner, to go full on the brakes, because as we have seen before when doing the onboard laps during the warm-up and previous to race 1, you don't see a thing of what is going on behind that corner. I mean, this is a track where everything is hidden behind hills and behind turns. So when you are going there very hot, you have many concerns. First of all, you don't know what is up there down the road, and second thing is you have no idea what the car in front is going to do, if it's going to close the door on you or God knows what, if he has even seen you.
Anders missed a shift there as he was pursuing Juha, so that gives him a little bit of breathing room. Oh my goodness, David Jakes is pulling off the track. His engine is gone.
Oh.
Well,
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. So it's going to move everybody up one place. Well, everybody except who was ahead of... Little Al is now in 6th as a result of that. Janik is 5th, and he is right with the turbine once again.
Yeah, but Little Al's happiness may not last very long because Cesarius is coming very hot from behind.
Yeah. We're over half distance in this race, too, so we don't have very far to go. 8 laps to go.
Those will be very long laps for Dave Miller and Little Al.
Yes. Oh, and here's Anders finally alongside. Is he going to... Oh, my goodness. He just bullies his way by Juha. Juha basically just ran out of room there and was on the marbles.
Yeah. He was trying to make room for Anders to not to shut the door on him.
Yeah.
Even if he wanted to make a stick. But yeah, as soon as he was in the marbles, it was all out. It slipped out like as if he was driving on ice.
So now the gap between Canola, it's almost exactly an inverse of heat number 1. It's 8 seconds and change. So your guess is as good as mine. You know, who's going to win? You know, it's 9 seconds. Who's going to get the win on aggregate? Because this is literally the inverse of what happened in heat number 1. So I'm not even going to try to add it up.
Yeah, well, the race is not over yet.
That's
and
true,
we have
too.
Seen some people retired with engine damage, which was quite unexpected in certain cases.
And it looks like Janik might have had a slight bobble somewhere because Miller's got a little bit more room now between himself and Brian Janik.
Not the case with Little Al and Cesarius, who is closing all the time. And after all the eventful race that Cesarius has had so far, him looking at the 6th place there in front of him up for grabs is for sure motivating enough. Look at the way he's sliding the car out of the corners. These two know each other.
Janik has run off the course. Janik losing lots of positions now, dropping to 7th now. KO sees a ripe target in front of him now. But that will make the end of the race a little bit more...
So
goodness.
is already there.
So Miller running 4th, Juha 3rd.
Cesarius just running the marbles, and man, this thing is really, really dangerous. He had to back up immediately, and that was just in time because otherwise he would have spun out. Oh, look at that. He lost it at corner entry. Boom.
Oh, my goodness. All right, well, that's another retirement. My goodness.
Yeah, that's another battle that seems to be solved. So let's see now what happens with the other cars.
Miller's end of the race is going to be maybe comparatively quiet. 4th place now in that turbine.
So with Anders also firmly established in 2nd position. Juha was in a nice 3rd. Dave Miller in 4th position. Little Al is 5th. And it's now a matter of watching and seeing if Brian Janik is able to even catch up with Little Al.
Well, Janik got a real break there by those DNFs that happened. Because it basically puts him back within striking distance of the top 5. So the gap is coming down slowly between Nilsson and Canola, but the operative word is slowly. I don't think we have enough time for Nilsson to mount a charge here. Although he is certainly trying.
Remember Canola leading the Indy 500?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not going to mention his name twice, or the broadcaster course will kick in.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Because at some point we will be starting to get blamed for this.
I don't think that exists, the broadcaster's curse. I think it's just coincidence. And the gap's going up now. So, yeah, it looks like provided Canola can keep going here, he's going to have heat number 2 as a win. But Anders certainly isn't giving up. He's still pushing very hard. Yeah, Little Al's all by himself now, 5th place. Janik is 6th. KO might be trying to close here, but I don't know that he's going to be able to do that or get by. He may close, but man, is he drifting that car. Easily the loosest car in the track in both heats has been KO. The difference being this time, hopefully he'll finish the race. My goodness. I know Gilles Villeneuve wasn't driving at this point, but he certainly looks for all the world like Gilles Villeneuve driving this way.
Yeah, or Keke Rosberg.
Or Rosberg, that's another one, yeah. Chacon soldiering on an 8th. He's the last car running.
Yeah, Nilsson now 8.8 seconds behind and not leaving anything on the table.
Yeah.
But I guess that Thiago is quite unperturbed at this point. Seems to be comfortable with the position. Well, 8 seconds at this point with 4 laps to go in this track probably is comforting enough, but you never know.
Yeah, the closest thing to a battle on the track right now would be Brian Janik and KO, as KO is trying to close in on him. But as we've seen, KO is really driving the wheels off that car.
Yep. So instead of Brian Janik catching up with Little Al, it could be KO Michiels catching up with Brian Janik.
It could be.
Whoa, nice slide there by KO.
Yes.
I mean, even if it's not as effective, I just wish we had more people on the grid driving like that. It would be really something to watch.
A little bit more in control there, but he's definitely closing. Question
and
is
20 years of tire technology seem to make a big difference. Compare this with the Formula 1 91s.
Yes.
That we will be seeing it again in action at Hockenheim.
The Hawk.
The Hawk.
I'm looking forward to that contest. Hopefully I can keep the Modena on the island for 45 laps.
You will.
I've got a score to settle with that track, too, because I was doing well in one race and hit the chicane at the Ost curve and was out. So I have a personal score to settle with Hockenheim. Yeah, look at KO. Definitely wringing the last bit of speed out of that car.
If someone is going to be happy after this race, that must be him, because he seems to be enjoying this.
Yeah, he's having fun. 7th place, matching his car number.
And the applause of the crowds.
Yes, so 3 laps to go now. This is the best battle on the circuit, if you're wondering why we're watching it.
At some point, it's like a synchronized ballet.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. Oh, goodness. KO almost lost it there, like running on the curb. But he's definitely harrying Brian. I mean, Brian's probably looking 60% of the time ahead of him, 40% behind him. And you can just barely hear that turbine in the distance. But I don't think Miller has anything to worry about as long as he keeps the thing rolling. Look at Brian protecting the inside line there.
Yeah, although if he looks in the mirror, he will not be sure what direction the Rothmans is going.
45-degree angle. At that point, you don't need the number on the front of the car. You just read the one on the side.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That's some amazing car control. Although he's over-revving his engine there, he wants to be careful. Oh, man. I'm starting to get flashbacks to Patrick Depailler in the Lap of the Gods video series. Because he was driving like this, especially at Long Beach.
Yeah, it's a pity that driving like that is not more effective, because it for sure looks nice.
It's fun to watch, I'll say that. Well, that's a foreshortened shot. It looked like he might have had the measure on him, but no. He's looking up the inside, though. He's definitely trying to play some psychological games too here. Man.
Maybe he
Looks at
does
the
it
inside.
on the outside
Oh.
sideways, as Piquet did to Ayrton Senna in that
My goodness.
Hungaroring of unpronounceable name.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try that one. So, Tiago is now into his final lap. And it's been a great race for him. If we look behind him here, the gap is down to 6 seconds. But as we were predicting, not going to be enough. It's going to take a catastrophe.
Oh,
for
Little Alice in the... What happened? He's in the sand now.
Uh-oh.
He seems to have crashed out, but he's still in fifth position. But there come Brian Janik and Caio Miquias. He probably...
Oh, goodness. This is going to make it... Yeah, Janet goes by. And Little Al slots into... Oh, my goodness! KO finally... Oh, no! Oh, that's too bad. KO out of the race.
Dirt tried to go for it, but Little Al was already committed to the corner.
Oh, God. It was...
What an unfortunate end.
It's too
to the
bad.
great race.
Yeah, the gap dropped a significant amount, but not enough to give Tiago a shot at... to give Anders a shot at Tiago as they come off the final turn.
And now Little Al is trying to get the position back from Brian Janik.
And there it is.
How this pans out.
Tiago Canola wins heat number 2. Anders Nilsson finishes second. Juha is by himself in third. But let's have a look at the other battle going on here. Janik and Little Al. Little Al picking up where KO left off. This is going to be close. For 5th place. You can hear Miller finishing 4th in the... there he is. In the turbine finishing 4th. But it looks like Brian's going to hold off Little Al as they come to the line. Yes. Brian finishes 5th. Little Al 6th. 7th is going to be Bruno Chacon, and he's the last car running because KO had just retired. So interesting that the second race had more carnage than the first one.
Yep. Only 7 cars finished. Less than half the field. I think... Okay, so that was it. I don't know if there would be someone interested in being in the green room for interview.
Well, we'll find out. We'll sit for a minute and see if anybody comes into the green room. We have the trivia question that we have to do in the meantime.
That's right.
Okay, so trivia question 2. Who won the International Gold Cup at Oulton Park 5 times in a row? 54 to 55 and then 59 through 61. Was it A, Graham Hill, B, Sterling Moss, or C, Jack Brabham? Or as Alberto likes to say, Brabham.
I'd go with Sterling Moss considering the era. But who knows?
You're not going to do one of those reversals again?
No.
So you're going with Moss.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. My soundboard has failed on me. I can't do the winner bell.
Oh.
Ding, 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 ding. You're right.
Okay.
I think what happened was that when the game clicks over, a bunch of stuff kind of freezes on me. Mm-hmm. So that's part of why I can't do I want to give you the winner bell, but I can't. There it is. There it is. Okay. I gave you the winner bell. Finally. All right. So there's a couple people in the green room. We can bring them in now. We'll bring them one at a time. We'll start with Tiago. Tiago Canola, congratulations on your victory in Heat 2, and you were also second in Heat 1. So my guess is that you're at least can be optimistic about getting the aggregate win.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. yeah, let's see how the points will play. I don't know exactly how people behind finished. So,
Yeah, it's we're not even going to try to do it ourselves because we're not statisticians where that's concerned. So we'll leave that up to Yuha. Yuha's a masochist, man. He's going to have to figure that out. In any case, though, it was an interesting race from the standpoint that in Heat 1, it looked like it got caught behind some cars, and by the time you were able to get things rolling, you were too far behind Nielsen. In the second heat, that wasn't the case, was it?
yeah. In the first hit, the gear ratio that I was using was pretty. I think it was too long in some areas of the track, and people were catching me, in some portions of the track, and I lost 2 positions, dropping to 5th. And then I was pretty hard to try to come back because it's so hard to overtake in this track, and these cars are so loose under braking. But honestly, to be very honest, Anders was untouchable today. He was so fast. Even if I was just behind him, if he doesn't do any mistake, it would be very hard to overtake him. I think was the case in the second heat because he did a small mistake. That was the only way I was able to overtake him. He was great. Yeah, it was very, very hard.
All right. We're also joined now by Dave Miller. Dave, good job driving a very awkward car at this circuit. You finished 6th in heat number 1 and then 4th in heat 2. Good job.
Yeah, thank you. That was really enjoyable. Quite fun to four-wheel drift the jet-powered Lotus around a fun little track. Car was really quite nice to drive, actually, once I dialed in the setup and got used to the new driving style that you need for it. But always very enjoyable. I had good fights in the first race with Richard, I think, and then Brian kept me honest for most of the second race as well. So very good fun.
Are your
Cool.
ears still ringing?
Pardon?
Are your ears still ringing from the turbine sound all the race?
Pardon?
Well, there you go. There's your answer.
All right. So the car looked to need a lot more distance to be stopped when compared to the other ones. Did you have problems with that?
Not really. Once I got used to it, there's no engine braking with the turbine, obviously. So yeah, the braking distance is a little bit longer. But once I got the brakes dialed in, it wasn't too bad. I didn't have any trouble with locking up or anything like that, which I think quite a few people did today.
You see, we saw you did at least some good use of the four-wheel drive in some off-road excursions. I mean, we have seen several cars spin in situations similar to where you were actually putting 2 wheels there and getting away with it. So at least that is a small advantage that you got in return.
Yes, you can almost drive this car a little bit like a front-wheel drive touring car. The driving styles are very similar, I'd say.
That's an interesting comparison.
So that would be a good car for Johnny Aces for the next time.
Yeah.
Quite
True.
possibly, I'd say.
All right. So looking ahead to what's coming up at ISO next week, we have the German Grand Prix. And since we have 2 people in here that are principals in that championship, what are you both looking for in that race next week?
Well, been doing quite a bit of setup work with the Williams to get the best out of it. Main concern for me is going to be brakes. Hockenheim's very hard on them, and then trying to keep temperature in the tyres as well is proving to be a little bit challenging. But we'll do what we always do. We'll go out, do the best we can, and see where we finish.
And Tiago, I'm not sure if are you taking part in this race too? I think you are.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still trying to understand the LaRousse now, and this track is very particular because you can set up the car very well in like 70% of the track, like very trimmed out, and then once you get to the stadium area, you lose all the time you made in the back in the previous portion of the track. So it'll be very interesting to see how people will set their cars up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's 2 very distinct sections in the Hockenheim. We will see that. We will go over that in the pre-race session that we will be doing. And yes, indeed. I mean, you will need a lot of practice to find the perfect compromise because you got a very twisty, slow section and then the very fast one. But it will be interesting to see. I predict that you will be doing some great overtaking moves on the brakes because you're so good at braking, and that's where all the action will happen before the chicanes.
All right. Well, I want to thank my broadcast partner, Alberto Ibañez, for keeping me on my toes and making sure I got all the good stuff on the TV. And thanks also to our drivers for 2 very exciting heats. It'll be interesting to see how the aggregate sorts out. But for now, I believe that's going to be it for the broadcast. So Johnny Aces will be showing you the German Grand Prix next week, and you can tune in to see him at the time that's on your screen right now. So for Jonathan Asserclint, who was with us earlier, Dave Miller, Tiago Canola, and Alberto Ibañez, this is Jason White saying so long from Oulton Park.